names are Carter and Canyon Swartz. I don't know them. I've never met them. I've communicated with one of them maybe twice via social media. And they and four others did something that nobody else who loves this franchise has done to date. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. The nice thing, by the way, about following the Steelers and the Penguins is you can do so while just focused on sports. You don't have to organize public protests. But that's what the Canyon brothers did within the past week. I believe they're both pretty young, like early 20s. I think I saw that somewhere in one of their various social media posts. And there was nothing to what they did. Canyon said something last week. He put it on Twitter, other places on social. He put it on our site on DK Pittsburgh Sports. And all he said was, my brother and I are going to be at Grant Street, downtown, the City Hall, at noon on Monday. Anyone and everyone is free to join us. And so four others did. They carried signs admonishing Bob Nutting for his stewardship of the team. They carried signs that asked him to sell that team. And as all protests do, small or large, they got media attention for it. They got infinitely more media attention just by getting onto KDKA TV, just by getting an article in Pittsburgh City paper, just by having their event covered by us, than any of the 10 billion or so people who say, I'm boycotting the Pirates. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't affect change in any way. Doesn't even get noticed. Think about it. What could be more bland and boring of a headline than, not many people went to the Pirates game last night? You're not achieving anything. What you're doing, respectfully, and especially if you happen to, live around here within reasonable distance of the Swartz brothers, what you're doing is passing the buck the same way people do whenever they come to reporters like me and say, you do this, you lead that. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's not how it's worked for hundreds of years. You do stuff, reporters report it. That's it. It's not very complicated. When reporters are making the news, that's when things are a bit backward. My role, if you want to call it that in all of this, is exactly the role that I've played since first getting on the beat in 2005 with the Post-Gazette, and that's to cover the team, on and off the field. In the summer of 2005, I wrote an investigative piece that was headlined Buried Treasure. It was the first one of its kind around here, taking a look at the team's finances, at their profiteering. This was even before Nutting had taken over as controlling owner. That was 2 years later. I continued to follow up on that. I have accessed the team's books on 3 separate occasions. I have a copy of one of them in the bottom drawer of my desk at home. I've shared all this with our readers. I've shared my opinions about the team from bad base running all the way up to bad ownership. But my doing that really doesn't affect anything other than to inform you. You're the variable, not me and not some imaginary boycott. You're the variable. If you get mad about it, the way Steelers fans did about Matt Canada, and I believe immensely contributed to his midseason firing, if you get mad the way Penguins fans did about what Ron Hextall had done to their roster in Sidney Crosby's final few years, you stand up in the arena and turn around and face Hextall's box and chant at him, fire Ron Hextall or fire Hextall, and then he gets fired. You've done something. Steelers fans weren't concocting imaginary boycotts. They were actually doing something. Penguins fans, who, by the way, I happen to believe and was told started the Matt Canada chants at Acrisure Stadium, they might have gotten 2 jobs done. You hear from the Pirates fans and it's all, oh, woe is us. Nothing will ever change. We can't do anything. He'll own the team forever and ever, and that's just how it's going to be. Without putting up any sort of resistance, without making any sort of statement, without making anyone involved uncomfortable. To which my response back to you would be, how do you know? How do you know? A gentleman named Craig Kelsch many years ago organized a walkout, PNC Park, had them shaking in their shoes. They stopped commenting on the game during the broadcast to discuss that protest as it was happening. The Canyon brothers were that now. I don't know the names of the other 4 individuals. I do know that I've seen their postings on social since it happened, and I've come across a ton of people congratulating them, saying they wish they were there. Are you going to do it again? I'll be there next time. Wasn't in town, wasn't able to do this, do that. And their response has been, yeah, they're going to do it again. As I learn more in my role as reporter, I will pass that along to you. But there were 6 of them, and they got pretty significant media coverage for it. Imagine if it was 60 or 600 or 6,000 people crossing the Roberto Clemente Bridge. You really don't think that'll have you really don't think that'll have an effect? Wow. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Tim, who says, DK, man, I love Michael Keaton. He's the only person who I feel is as big a Buccos fan as I am. If only he would make a play at owning the Buccos. Why not? Bing Crosby once did it. For anyone who doesn't know why Tim is referencing city native Michael Keaton, it's because he and another Western Pennsylvania native, Pat McAfee, brought up the Pirates' ownership in rather colorful terms on McAfee's ESPN show, including admonishing Nutting to sell the team. And while I obviously couldn't agree more with the sentiment, there's a part of me that gets a little cringy when stuff like that happens, because people get excited and they think that that's the way to make this happen. And it's not. It doesn't have any impact at all on anyone at 115 Federal all the way to the top. It just doesn't. They see it as media, this or that, and they can always shrug off media as outside noise, and then that's the end of the conversation. You're going to have to take my word for this. Whereas, if it's just people, if it's just their fans, if it's doing what the Swartz brothers did, or what fans used to be able to do at Pirates Fest, and speak up right then and there, right to their faces, that makes them uncomfortable in the most. I actually have an uncomfortable time relaying to you how uncomfortable they are, and it's to the extreme that, to my knowledge, Nutting hasn't even shown up at a Pirates Fest in some time, and I'll apologize in advance if I'm wrong on that. I don't even know if they've had one. I'd have to check on that. But they're having one this year. You know why? Because they think everything's fine. They think everything's going to blow over. Yeah, by the time Pirates Fest comes around, everybody will forget about this. We'll go sign a free agent or something. You know, like Yasmani Grandal 2. But it's not how it's going to work. Michael Keaton's not coming in to rescue you. Mark Cuban sure isn't coming in to rescue you. Cuban talks about a lot of different things. He does a very, 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 very tiny percentage of those things. Remember when the original hot dog shop, the O in Oakland, closed down? Who was it that went public with his desire to save the O and to keep it open? Cuban. The thing ended up getting sold off for parts for $250,000, which is pocket change to him. He didn't do it. There's a riverfront building that he bought here in downtown Pittsburgh, faces PNC Park, commonly known as the Easter Seals building. You'd recognize it in a heartbeat if you saw a picture of it. He bought it for $6 million about 15 years ago. Just let it sit there for a decade. Said it was going to be turned into all kinds of whatever, apartments, condominiums, something or other. Nothing happened to it. He got rid of it. He's not buying the Pirates, okay? Keaton's not buying the Pirates. What has to happen in this event, if you want to try to make it real, is that the Pirates have to be put up for sale. When that happens, and I just went through covering one of these processes with the sale of the Penguins, when that happens, the potential buyers will come in from all over. They don't need to be begged. And they will come with unfathomable amounts of money. I believe the Pirates would sell for $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. For those of you who say, Nutting will never get rid of the team because he's making too much money off of it. He's not making $1.5 billion off of them. That's a pretty nice one-time check for somebody to sign your way. But if he's currently having fun owning the baseball team, then, he doesn't have a motivation necessarily to sell it. Why is he having fun? Because the city's letting him have fun. Because the city's not doing a damn thing about it. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. And by the way, when I'm talking about the city, I'm not talking about government. I'm talking about the citizens.